All right, what is going on? We are here with the Akai S612, Akai's very first sampler. There's nothing from Akai before this in the way of samplers. And this, hands down, is my favorite Akai sampler. And we'll get into a little bit of why. But first, I'd like to let you know that we're back on track with the Samplers podcast. Episode 48 is out right now. Information is in the description box below. It's a great episode. Check that out. Now, the reason why I regard this sampler so highly is pretty simple. I'm a pretty easy person to please, and simple things, especially in the way of technology and samplers, really make things easy for me to use. And that means a lot when it comes to making music. So this particular sampler here is so tactile. Like everything you have to do is right here. There's literally nothing else going on than what you see in this front panel. There's no submenus. There are key combinations though that are beyond basic, beyond easy, nothing that you can get too bent out of shape about, but it is so enjoyable to use and responsive. Like what you do, you get immediate feedback. And that is one of the things that I want to show today. So before we do any of that, I want to actually show what the sampler sounds like on its highest sampling rate. I've done quite a few videos where I've played things, but the sample rate was kind of in the middle, not its highest resolution. On its highest resolution, which I think is about 32 kilohertz, you'll get maybe a second and a half of sampling time. So let's just listen to what that sounds like. Right? It's got a really solid high end, like it's really tight. And very reminiscent of the MPC 2000 type deal to me. However, when this thing goes into lower sample rates, it starts sounding like something else. And I can simulate that by actually dialing in the filter. This is a kind of unique filter that I really like. It really not only rolls off the high end, but stuff really starts to sound just a kind of lo-fi, really kind of like a cheap old tape recorder. Almost like those little tape recorders that you used to put in answering machines. It has that sort of sound to it. It's just really odd, but let's take a listen to it. Right, so that's what you get with that. So all of these things are things that I like, but what I really, really like is, and I just discovered this like not even a few minutes ago, you can loop your samples here, which will just loop, but this manual splice thing is complete gold. The difference between just looping or alternating looping just in the regular mode is that when you're looping something, if you move these, you have to retrigger your sample source from your keyboard to start on whatever new sample time you've adjusted here with the start and end. But if you use manual slice, it's completely fluid. So as soon as you hit a key and hold it, you can move on the fly, right? You don't have to necessarily restart the sample at all. As long as you're holding a key and you move this, it kind of just moves through the sample. And it sounds amazing. It sounds like time stretching and in some instance, granular. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like regularly looping. So we've heard it on one shot, which is just a sample. We'll hit looping so you can hear what it sounds like. Right, so if I move it, nothing happened. It just held the loop, whatever start time I pressed it on. If I moved it to here, it would have just started from this point here, like this. Right, but no kind of movement after that. So when I hit manual splice now, it uses these start points as the entire loop. So we'll start and end between these 2 points, right? So check this out. pretty interesting. That is amazing. I just think that is so amusing that something this old sounds this modern in that sense. And this is stuff that you could do with the Fly. So now I can play the sample in this way where you can just create a number of things in the form of rhythm, anything, you know? So let's just try another sound. If you haven't seen, I'm using the EPS as a MIDI device in this instance. So I'm just gonna sample something actually from the EPS into this, and we'll listen to that. All right, so I have that sound in here. It's looped by default. And before I had monophonic mode for the drum sound, you can also put it in polyphonic mode. And now I'm hoping, I haven't tried this yet, but if you can move this and be playing in polyphony at the same time, that would be even more fun. So let's just take a listen to how everything sounds looped. Right, that's the sample. So now I'm gonna put in splice mode. And now instead of looping, you notice that it would loop and it'll just play the end of the sample as a looping style. Now it's gonna loop from beginning to end. Let's see if it'll do that now. All right, so now when I play, I should be able to move the sample through it by little tiny looping, repeating parts. Check this out. It doesn't, and that is ultra fun. So you can create just from simple things. You can create more stuff from this little basic sampler. I can't even save what I did here. Once the sampler is off, that's it. I've lost it. And that's sort of the greatest thing that I like about this as well. I don't have the additional saving expansion, but I really like the commitment that I make to this thing with the decisions because there is no saving. You know, I just don't have that option, and I don't care to. I like things just the way they are. You've noticed that I added the LFO depth to it, and it's a pretty cool LFO to use. It modulates the sampler pitch. I'm really not a fan of pitch modulation at all with an LFO, but with this, I kind of like the feel that it gets. And it can get really, really slow if you want it to. And it also has a delay. It's pretty cool. I just, yeah, hands down, favorite Akai sampler. This is all I wanted to show you guys today. Mark your calendars. December 5th, my new album, History Never Gets Old, will be available. Pre-orders coming sooner than you think. In the meantime, please do take care of yourself. Peace.